All righty, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to have a bit of a discussion today, and that discussion is going to be on none other than Zani, a character that was released during Wuthering Waves version 2.3, the anniversary, and is now eligible for her first rerun ever. And what I wanted to do was actually take the time to break down whether or not she's actually a good pull, because a lot of people might be a little bit unaware of some of the nuances, some of the specificities of this unit, and could be getting themselves into a bit of a disaster. Because the reality of the situation should hopefully be a little bit more clear by now. This unit, without having one of her specifically tailored supports on her team, is quite possibly one of the most unwieldy, unusable, and just unfun characters that somebody can have on their account. And when in a game like this, you spend a lot potentially to pull a unit, up to 160 pulls, right? If you lose the 50-50, then it's not going to feel particularly that great if there's not a lot of spots for you to use that unit. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the situation over here with Zani, assuming that you just pulled her. Let's just say you're like a new player, you started within the last couple of months, you haven't had the chance to pull, maybe units like Phoebe, etc., and you pulled a Zani. Then this is kind of like the situation that you're going to be up against. You can't actually utilize much of her kit at all for a primary reason, because Zani essentially is built off of this mechanic called Helical Embers and Blaze. And when enemies, or really, when allies trigger Spectral Frazzle, it's instead replaced with a Helical Ember, and she builds up stacks of Blaze that's used in her Liberation, where, while she's in Inferno mode, she consumes Blaze with every single attack to deal additional damage. And so if you don't have a teammate that's there to provide Helical Embers and Blaze, then Zani ends up in a situation where her Liberation, her enhanced state, that can last, a good amount of time, 20 seconds, it'll last like 3. It'll last like 3, 4, 5 seconds instead, because you'll immediately run out of Blaze and then be forced to use your big finishing move a lot earlier than you expected. And so, when you're playing her as a free-to-play, Zani kind of works in this way. You only have one teammate that works for her, and that's going to be the Spectral version of Rover. However, the unfortunate part about this is that the Spectral version of Rover is dog shit for actually supplying Blaze to Zani. The problem is because Spectral Rover only applies they apply 2 stacks of Frazzle every single time they do their special Forte Enhanced Spin. That has a cooldown of 6 seconds. You can reliably use it twice a rotation, so you get 4 stacks there. Then you also get 6 stacks from their Liberation. So in a regular rotation with Spectral Rover, you get 10 stacks. Zani, unfortunately, needs... Blaze is capped at 100 when not in Inferno mode. It's capped at 150. Each stack of Helical Ember converted from Spectral Frazzle grants 5 Blazes. And so you're probably beginning to see what's going on over here. You kinda want something close to around 20 stacks of Frazzle. Closer to actually 18, because she does have a little bit of built-in Helical Ember generation in her kit. You want around 18 stacks of Spectral Frazzle from your team to be able to actually have a full Blaze bar to work with. Let me just show you, gameplay-wise, what that'll look like. That'll probably be the easiest way to do it. We'll go against these Chasm Guardians over here, and we'll run a Shorekeeper, followed by a Spectral Rover, followed by our Zani over here. Where is this dog shit? Oh, sorry. Great unit. Let me also make sure that I have like a Moonlit Cloud set on my Rover. I'm not going to care too much about what they have on. I guess we'll toss some EOG for shits and giggles. That's what their stats are going to look like. It's a little bit overkill, but it's fine. And our Zani's going to look like this on the investment menu. Pretty typical build overall. Nothing too crazy about it, though. And that's the Shorekeeper. So let's go ahead. Let's get this one underway. Let's just do a vanilla rotation with our Spectral Rover, and then see how much she actually gets to work with here.
Diminish load astral modulation.
I sense your weakness.
I'm making sure to do a couple of like swap cancels and stuff so that our Rover is actually able to get off this second attack in like a decent amount of time.
One with the second.
And here we go, right?
Come at me. All yours. I don't have all day.
And let's see how much Blaze I have. You're noticing, right, that my bar is not full. I only got off a couple of attacks here.
Come at me.
I get about 2 Nightfalls. That last one is a little bit unbuffed. It is what it is, right?
Ordained.
A waste of time.
Kind of not the best overall rotation. But there is a fact about this team that I'm not expressing right now.
Swift and resolute.
You can greatly increase
The hour is
how much additional Spectrofrazzle stacks Zani gets to fuel her liberation, as long as you're willing to do things like quick swap, right?
No goes.
So I can actually go ahead and here, right? Swap back to Rover, do a little bit of that good stuff,
Come on.
and then during Zani's rotation,
Don't stand
right,
in my way.
go back over here,
Reduce to dust.
sounds come forth.
and then kind of like get some additional stacks that way. I don't have a lot of practice with it. It's not something I particularly like doing, but it's something that you can do, right? But as you can see, your combos end up becoming way shorter than you'd probably like
Resonance.
across your rotation. Simply due to, well, the restrictions that you're getting over here. And it kind of feels like shit.
Don't do overtime.
And you're noticing, damn, this clear time is not particularly doing that well either.
Reduce to dust.
No hesitation.
Don't stand in my way.
Looks awful if we're frankly being honest. Now let's see what it looks like when you flip the script and you just use the character that she's meant to work with and you don't use her free-to-play option. And that's going to be Phoebe. And we're just going to be putting Phoebe on that same exact Moonlit Cloud set that we just had before. Have her on her signature. These are her stats. And let's just see what the difference looks like in the gameplay.
Astral modulation. Sentinel protect me. Mover, be my salvation.
Here we go.
Purify power of the
Shut.
Sentinel.
All yours.
And you're going to notice, wow, I got the full bar. And the damage kind of seems a bit higher.
Don't stand in my way. Now I have
A decent bit higher, actually.
Vow from the soul. Stay calm. Loading. Answer me. I engraft you new. Sentinel protect me.
And that's kind of like the reality of this situation over here, is that, unfortunately, this character ends up feeling in most situations kind of mandatory for Zani not to feel like a pile of shit, because it lets you also do this.
Come at me.
This is going to be a triple Nightfall rotation.
Don't stand in my way.
That's essentially 3 of them. And that's where you end up dealing most of Zani's damage, is when you're able to get off attacks like that. And you cannot do that with Spectro Rover. Even with like a bunch of swaps and all that other great shit, it's really hard to get that one off.
Power of the Sentinel.
Shut. All yours. All of you at once. I don't do overtime.
And the thing is, though, you're probably beginning to notice, yeah, this character still doesn't seem to be doing, like, that amazing. And that's also just one of the honest truths about this unit. She has a lot of struggles against mobile enemies. As you just saw, we missed a bunch of attacks and stuff like that. She even has additional restrictions built into her kit. On top of having the Phoebe restriction, she also has issues doing a couple of other things. But this is the situation over here when it comes to Zani, and this is not even diving into the biggest issue of them all. Zani's role on the battlefield is a Spectro DPS, a Spectro heavy attacker, and she simply does not do her role correctly unless she has Phoebe on her team. And so it essentially becomes a matter of this character kind of becomes like a two-unit package where you need Phoebe to really make her operating content. But the situation literally is, if you have Phoebe, you can just play Phoebe as a main DPS with Spectro Rover. And you can just do what Zani does for the price of one limited unit. That is the reality of the situation over here. Because now, this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you Phoebe and Rover, right? I'm going to put the Moonlit Cloud set on my Rover over here. And then on my Phoebe, I'm just going to put on the Zani set that I have. And, well, that's going to be it. Like, that's going to be the reality. Is just like, this is kind of wholly unnecessary. Like, it feels extremely unnecessary. A lot of the stuff, like just purchasing this character in general. These are going to be my Phoebe stats in combat. Oh my lord. Yeah, that's a lot. She going to go crazy. So let's just go ahead and see how this team does against that Crownless. We're just going to use this free-to-play Spectrofrazzle team. Let's just see how it does.
Break.
In war with time.
Swift and resolute. The hour is upon us. No hesitation. One more time. One with
Sentinel protection. Judgment time. Bluebird, be my salvation. Together we stand.
Gotta make sure I go back to reapply my Frazzle stacks, though, unfortunately.
Call upon the Sentinel.
Phoebe has some issues, right? Because she needs to ensure that Spectral Frazzle's on the enemies for her to actually deal any damage. And so me deciding to go into, like, multi-wave content like this is one of her biggest weaknesses.
Strike from the shadows. One with
Sentinel protection. Answer me. Bluebird, be my salvation. Together we stand. Oath.
But you can just play, you can just run this exact same content with just a different character
Modulation.
in the support slot. And then it'll still get the job done. And so you're oftentimes just asking yourself, right? What's the point of, like, actually using this Zani character when I've got an alternative right here? And she's part of, like, the baseline formula that you need to even make Zani work in the first place. And I know my Phoebe gameplay is a little bit rusty. It's been actually almost low-key. It's been like 10 years since I played her as like a DPS. So I still got some shit I gotta, like, I messed up a ton on, like, the cancels before and everything. But this character works as well. Oh, there's also Spectral Resistance too, so that's also something to keep in mind. Yeah, there's also Spectral Resistance on this floor. So that's probably another reason for why the clear time looks like some absolute garbage. We were playing into this debuff over here where enemy Spectral Resistance is increased by 10%. I'm also playing super rusty on that team. But with more practice and reapplying for multi-wave content where you just switch over to Rover for a little bit, you would clear. And that's the thing, is that you have to ask yourself, why am I going to pull an additional limited unit to make my Zani function at a baseline when I could just run Spectro Rover and Phoebe in the same exact content and then just do it that way? There's no actual reason to ever pull this character, because you need this character to make her work, and then you can just use this character as the DPS. The only thing that might be a barrier for you is the fact that if you actually do run this team composition, then your Rover isn't free to use in other teams, which is a fair one. But are you going to go ahead and decide to pull Zani, build her, get her weapon, do all of that stuff, just to free up Rover and have Spectro coverage? I don't know. I think it's a little bit weird. right? I think that's a bit of a crazy ask just to like free up Rover so he can be used on like arrow teams and stuff like that. Maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe that's what you want to do. But the reality is, if you need Spectro coverage, she's enough and she'll get the job done. And going this far for what is literally, in my opinion, one of the most like not really appealing gameplay experiences in the game, I think it's a bit of a tall ask. Another thing about this team that you're seeing over here with Zani and Phoebe is the fact that this has to be legitimately one of the most clunky teams you can possibly play. The number of just like long-winded animations that almost require you to swap cancel, otherwise you feel like you're in like molasses, is nuts. Playing this team in like a standard 1-2-3 outro way is legitimately one of the most painful things I can imagine for a player. Because when this character is in confession mode, or sub DPS mode, essentially, where they're not meant to be dealing damage, good lord, their rotation just feels like it takes forever to do. There's so much room for interruption, and, like, both of these characters have kits that feel like some of the most clunky goddamn kits in the game. And it's almost a surprise that you have to, that, like, all two of these things are getting combined together into, like, one package where it's just... I cannot count to you the number of individuals who pulled this team and then they're no longer using it anymore. Because it's just not very fun to play. It's not very fluid. It doesn't feel particularly good. And that number is insane because a ton of people wanted to pull this unit during the anniversary. A ton of people wanted to, you know, pull that synergy and all of that. They played it for like a month or two, and then afterwards, nobody is touching these two units again. That's just, I think, a reality of the situation for a lot of people. I just don't want players falling into the trap of thinking that, like, oh, because this unit came out during the anniversary, because Wallenstein's is uploading a crazy quick swap compilation, that they're going to somehow have a good experience with the unit too. Because she is one of the most acquired tastes that I think there is in the game. You have to really like her gameplay for you to actually enjoy playing her. And the reality is, her gameplay is not the cup of tea for a lot of people. It's basically like, if you don't do sweaty shit with this team, it feels genuinely awful. And so the baseline, like, experience for a lot of people is almost being forced to play this team sweaty. Because if you don't, it's one of the worst overall experiences in the game. Just as like a final bit of like actual testing, we can go ahead and see. Let's just see, right? In the most optimal scenarios, does this team still actually... Oh, that's a little bit too much crit rate. Does this team actually cook in Endgame? Or is it still legitimately, you know, power crept and not actually feeling that good? I want to actually be the judge for it, myself. Why don't we just go ahead and see what's going on over here? Going into Hazard Tower 4. It's been a minute. And again, this is what you can do if you're deciding to only pull Phoebe and skip Zani.
Lion graft you knew.
Swift and resolute. I sense your weakness. Moment of resonance.
Sentinel, protect me. Answer me. Ha! Purify. Together we stand. In the name of Imperator. Oath from the heart. Worry not. Dim it, letting war with time.
Swift and resolute. The hour is upon us. No hesitation. One with the...
Sentinel protection. Bluebird.
All right, here we go.
Salvation. Ordained.
And would you look at that? Looks like a pretty decent overall time in the middle tower now that we're against, you know, boss content that can actually you know.
Has come. One with
Sentinel protects me. Judgment crystals.
Yeah, we're against boss content where we can easily maintain maximum number of spectral frazzle stacks.
Arduous. To get oath.
And this is, again, I think there's like a negative, like status, like debuff too. Right? I think there's literally a negative status debuff.
no hesitation. Moment of resonance. One with the
Sentinel protects me. Answer me.
The enemy's defense actually gets increased when they get negative statuses like Frazzle inflicted on them. So that's actually what's going on right now.
Ordained. Arduous. Stay calm.
Yeah, honestly, Rover should finish it here.
strike from the shadow. The end has come.
This is the debuff that was clearing into. When inflicted with negative statuses, the enemy's defense is increased by 10%. So all of those enemies these two had a 30% defense increase the entire time. And while, yes, we did get a heavy attack damage bonus, if we weren't using a negative status team, they just wouldn't even have that 30% defense situation going on. So, like, just using any other team that happens to deal heavy attack damage is, like, better. And so that's what that team is capable of. You have to ask yourself, is it worth pulling Zani to do what that team can do? And the only reason why I was having struggles with this floor is because you need to actually have Spectral Frazzle on the enemies for it to work, for Phoebe's damage to work properly. Otherwise, you lose all of her damage amplification. But with this, we were just getting a perfectly fine clear time. And the reality is, guys, if you have Phoebe, you don't need Zani. But to make Zani work, you need Phoebe. So it's like a cart before the horse situation. Zani's the cart, Phoebe's the horse, and your goal is to go from point A to point B. You buy the horse, and then you realize, I don't actually need the cart. I don't have enough stuff to justify getting the cart. So you buy the horse, and then you just don't buy the cart, and then you go to where you need to go. That's essentially what it's like building this team. You never need Zani. She's just a fancy cart. It's a tall-ass task for somebody to be expected to spend that many limited pulls for what is essentially a shiny cart in the gameplay. And so if that's what you want to go for, that's what you want to go for. But there's a reason why I continually talk about so oftentimes the amount of regret that people have pulling this character and pulling her weapon, because she is, without a doubt, the lowest value unit in the game. She adds almost nothing to your account, placing her in optimal conditions. She is literally the definition of, this changes nothing. Everyone that pulled her, for them, this changes nothing. She changes nothing. You can spend up to 240 pulls for her and her weapon, and she will do absolutely nothing on your account. No additional benefit added. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. You're fully free to do it. But the point of this video over here is to just educate some of the individuals who might be about to make a decision like that. Hopefully, you're making it from a better standpoint than the people that made that decision to pull Zani during her release. Because the number of people that wish they didn't do this, very high. And that's why we're making this video. That'll be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought about this one. Peace.